Blake Shelton has released his 12th studio album, Body Language, and it's time to talk about it. This new album comes as a bit of a surprise to me because after the release of his Overshore album in 2017, Blake came out and expressed his disinterest in making another album. He said he's okay just putting out singles from then on, and for the majority of the last 4 years, that's what Blake has done, releasing several successful singles, most notably his powerhouse of a song, God's Country. However, God's Country ended up being a one-off style track. There was no similar follow-up. Rather, Blake began releasing more music with his new wife, Gwen Stefani. Together, they made dumpster fires like Nobody But You, but also made some sweet, appealing love songs in Happy Anywhere. And mixed in between the duets, Blake released songs like Minimum Wage, one that's really grown on me since its release. So when the album was announced, the lifelong fan in me was excited for another album from Blake, but the critical side of me was concerned, especially given the title. I just wasn't all that hopeful Blake could pull together anything really interesting or worthwhile, but this album left me with a lot more to discuss than I was expecting. Beginning with the production, Blake has never been one to stray too far from that classic country sound. As time has gone on, with some exceptions, he's adjusted his sound accordingly to keep that traditional core while incorporating modern elements to stay sonically relevant in the ever-changing world of mainstream country. However, in the build-up to this release, Blake talked about experimenting with different sounds, which had me concerned after songs like Nobody But You. However, not only did this not end up being an issue, it arguably provided some of the best moments on the record. The most obvious external influence is that of R&B, which can be found tastefully implemented into several tracks here. Take Neon Time, for example, a fun, groovy beach country song that's all tied together with a ribbon of smooth R&B. Even some soft undertones of reggae influence, which can also be found on tracks like Making It Up As You Go. I specifically like the energy Blake brings on Making It Up As You Go. There's multiple instances where everything but the percussion is pulled back, most notably at the beginning of the chorus, and I just think it works really well. I'm normally not a fan of those percussive moments, but when it's done with more interesting context and percussive flavor, it ends up being a lot more satisfying as opposed to if this is another drum loop track. The R&B I was talking about can also be primarily found on tracks 2 and 4, Body Language, and the confusingly romantic breakup song Now I Don't. Body Language, the song, fell flat for me. I was pretty certain it would given the nature of it, but there's just not much to dissect here. Just a seductive bedroom song that I don't care for despite the mediocre/okay R&B production. I have my issues with Now I Don't that I'll get into shortly, but sonically it's quite captivating, to be honest with you. It's not a country song, it's not an R&B song, it's like a 50-50 blend, so I understand how that is instantly going to turn a lot of people away, but at least me personally, I can appreciate how this track is thoughtfully put together, and the way all the dreamy elements flow in and out is cleverly organized. On top of that, I think it's one of the strongest hooks provided by one of Blake's best vocal performances on the whole record. However, shifting away from the externally influenced tracks, I was pleasantly surprised with some of the more explicitly country cuts on this thing, specifically Corn, which though cheesy is a frontrunner for my favorite track on the album. As I said, Corn is cheesy, but at the same time it's irresistible. It's almost cheesy in a good way. How the song closes, saying the song is going to end where it began, starting with a C and ending with an N. The whole song is fun, corny, and a big thumbs up from me. The Girl Can't Help It and What You Doing Tomorrow are both tracks that I think have the right idea, aren't necessarily bad, they just don't stand out amongst the others. There's nothing especially unique that makes me want to come back to them. If anything, they suffer from the same issue I'm going to mention in a moment here. Last one I wanted to mention was Monday Morning Missing You. I talked about this on the second episode of the podcast that is coming shortly, but me and Jaren were saying how it reminded us of Monday Morning Merle, and though this track is not on the level of Monday Morning Merle, sonically, I love how this thing really feels like old school rock country Blake. Throughout his career, post-bro era Blake Shelton has shifted to lighter, breezier country tracks, which in all honesty, I do not mind one bit. I thought Overshore was a strong showing in 2017, but this Monday Morning Missing You feels straight out of 2014, and I can't get enough of it. Overall, musically, this record really surprised me in a good way. A little all over the place, yes, but for the most part, whichever road they went down, the end result was consistently quality or at least suffice. Obviously, being a coach of the voice, we know Blake Shelton has an incredible one, and honestly, I thought it was a well-utilized asset over the course of this thing. It maybe didn't involve the range or power of God's Country or She Wouldn't Be Gone, but it complemented the tracks nicely. Going for power on these cuts wouldn't have made any sense, but now to a glaring issue that a lot of this project suffers from, Blake still doesn't know how old he is. These songs, though they are good for the most part, are not meant to be sung by a 44-year-old male, and as a result, they really end up feeling fabricated or just a little weird. Like in Now I Don't when he says, I thought your sex was the best that I'd ever known, but now I don't. Under no circumstance do I want to hear that from anyone in Blake's age group. Granted, I don't want to hear that from any country singer. It's just worded and delivered so awkwardly confident. Furthermore, the song also features the phrase straight up, like as if Blake is either a member of the Migos, Travis Scott's partner in crime, or a 14-year-old skinny kid trying to act tough in his freshman year of high school. Honestly, I wouldn't have an issue if a younger artist with a more youthful reputation like Morgan Wallen or Sam Hunt sang that line, but Blake Shelton? It just feels like an old person trying to use modern terminology around their grandkids, but really it's just embarrassing. Also, look to songs like Body Language. It's not a bad song, it's not fantastic, but it's not a song I want being sung by anyone over the age of 30. Like, come on, it's what makes the cheesiness of a song like Korn work, because Blake is the right demographic. I want to hear dad joke songs from someone late in their career like Blake. I want more stuff like Bible verses, just more mature songs. Surely it wouldn't be that hard to take some of these songs and just add an adulthood twist to them, because how it is, the songs just aren't believable, and that's always the concern when an artist doesn't write their own songs. Blake obviously does not, but he has a pretty good track record of cutting appropriate songs. This selection just wasn't really it. Which makes it tough because the songs themselves are solid. Like I said, Now I Don't is a beautiful sounding song, but it's just impossible to ignore the cultural disconnect between Blake and the actual song. On the whole, the songwriting isn't consistently low quality, it's just sort of there. The lyrics don't stick out unless they stick out for the wrong reason, like on Now I Don't, with the obvious exception of Bible verses, which I think is excellently written and exactly what Blake should be making more of this late in his career. So overall, I enjoyed this album quite a bit. To throw it on in the background, it's a great listen, engineered a lot better than I was expecting, sonically more highlights than I was expecting, but it's hard to ignore the glaring problems it suffers from. We use this phrase in the podcast, but this album is sort of just there. As a lifelong Blake Shelton fan, I know I'm going to be revisiting this thing a lot, but from a critical standpoint, when you take a step back, it's just there. Not terrible, not great, so for a rating, I'm going to give this one a 6 on the dot. So, that's all I've got for you guys today. Be sure to comment what you thought of this album in the comments below. Like the video if you enjoyed. If you're new, maybe consider subscribing for more country music content. Links to my Instagram, Discord, and our brand new podcast are in the description below. And yeah, until next time, have a great day.